Now what we want to do is to perform batch processing for the rest of the images that I was showing you in the Lightroom. We can now go ahead and close this image. Now go ahead and click Batch Bracketed Photos to perform batch processing. And this will bring you this window where you will choose some options. First, if you look at the process window, we have option to generate HDR image. And there are settings for this. Go ahead and click. Now we have a couple of options to go through. First, force exposure volume spacing 2. Here you define the spacing only when your EXIF data cannot be read by the software. That means you capture it and deleted it, which is unlucky. So most of the time, in all cases, you would not need to click here anything. Then we have reduce ghosting effects. Of course, this will be now automatic because we cannot go and interact one by one. Just you can click and choose detection high or normal. Most of the time, choosing normal is the option. However, if you are not happy with the removal of ghosting effects, then you can choose high. Afterwards, we can choose reduce noise, and here just leave it as default and reduce the chromatic aberrations. And the next option is source image are linear. This is related to your RAW conversion, and many of the RAW converters do not really convert them completely linear. Therefore, unless you are 100% sure that they're converted linear, don't click this. And we'll leave this part as it is. And the last option is when source images are in TIFF, what you can also do, process strip by strip. That means you can avoid memory limitations. This is especially useful when you're doing HDR panoramas. Here actually we don't need it. Just say OK. The next thing we have to here go ahead and choose tone map with detail enhancer. Since we already saved our tone mapping settings, let's go ahead and find it and then load. That was bots. And say OK. The next is to define the number of the bracketed images. In the series that I shot, there were 3 bracketed images per scene. However, if you have varying number of the bracketed images per shot, you can go here to advanced options, and here it will give you an option automatically detect number of bracketed frames based on the metadata. Photomatix will read your metadata and try to see which images are captured in a row by checking their creation time. First, you have to define the gap. So, for instance, if you have 3, sometimes 5, 7, you can say here 3 to 7 or 11 at most. The next thing is to define the maximum time between 2 successive bracketed frames. 2 seconds is usually good for even sunset and sunrise scenes. However, if you're doing long exposures, for instance during night or so, you have to then increase this according to your exposure times. This is another option, as it's explained here, would be useful when some of the photos in the process folder are not part of bracketed set, or when the number of the frames per bracketed set varies. Here I will go ahead and choose 3, and the next we have alignment option. As a default, we will have it crop align images by horizontal and vertical shift calculations. And the next is to define the source of the image. So you can either choose the folder that is having your images, which has been chosen already here, or you can choose the individual files going into your folder and setting a range if you want to just process some of them. But since I want to process all of them, I choose the folder. And there is an also option for processing subfolders. But since here we don't have anything, we will just unclick it and we will go ahead and then process our main folder. On the right hand side, you have the option to define the destination, create a subfolder, which is actually good. You have also option to save the tone map image here as TIFF 16, TIFF 8 or JPEG, and also JPEG quality. Here we have also option to define the extension of 32-bit image. Here we'll leave it as default. Last, you have option to define the name of the images that are produced. Actually, what I do here is just leave it default. Then go ahead and click Run. You will see in this window, it will go through your images 3 by 3 from top to bottom, generate the HDR according to settings, and perform the tone mapping, and then it will save them. What I usually do here is, while it's producing, I go and check the folder, check the results, if everything looks normal. Basically, it's a good idea not to wait till the end. For instance, there might be a clear mistake in a setting, or there might be an image that should not be in the folder that is then would shift the processing. So to make sure that there is no problem really at the beginning, just go ahead and check your results time to time. Now you can see that it's starting the second one. So we can go ahead and check the first one. So it produces this one. You can see Photomatic results 1. Now we can go ahead and see the TIFF file. Yeah, which looks to me good. There is no an apparent problem. So we can close and then wait for the rest of the process. Okay, it looks like the process is done. It went through all images and then produced the HDR and then tone mapped image. Here in the folder we can see that it is recording all the time, of course, 32-bit image and also tone mapped 16-bit TIFF file here. We can quickly go over them. So we have now our results. What we will do is to bring our results into Lightroom and then process them with Lightroom and Photoshop.